Hey guys, it's Damon, aka Nomad, because if you didn't know, Damon backwards is Nomad. Today we got something really cool. I'm going to be going over my game of the year list for the year 2025. And so this is really special to me because this is the very first game of the year list that I have ever done. If you don't know kind of how I do things, kind of hop around a lot. That nickname Nomad, it's there for a reason. I moved around a lot as a kid. I moved from hobby to hobby. But I also play video games like that too. Pick up a game, I'll play it for a while, might get distracted with a new game that comes out, or I might just get busy with life. And then I'll come back to it later. My goal is always to finish games. Doesn't always happen like I would like to, but that usually is my goal, and I try to stick to it. So some of the games on this list, some of these games I have beaten, some of these games I have not beaten yet. And then a little surprise, there's one game that I have not even played, but that's how good it is and how much it deserves to be on this list. Um, so I did write myself a little script. Me personally, I like to compose my thoughts before I actually go about speaking. I'm very precise with the way I say things, or I try to be at least. And so this video is scripted, but a lot of it is going to be kind of just going over what I have to say, and then I'll kind of expound on things when I need to. So like I mentioned, a lot of the times when I play games, I'll pick them up, I'll play them for a while, and then if I have the chance, I will finish them. But a lot of times I just don't get that opportunity. So some examples of that, I started God of War Ragnarok the very minute it was released. I stopped playing it pretty quickly because I got spoiled pretty quickly as well. So same thing happened with The Last of Us Part 2. I finished The Last of Us Part 2, but God of War Ragnarok, I still have not beat. Um, but there are also other games where it's kind of the opposite. I'll pick it up the moment it comes out, or I'll pick it up years after it comes out, and I'll just dedicate all my time that I can to it. So the biggest one for me of that is Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima was the very first game that I ever platinumed. I never had a desire to platinum games. I love it when there's trophies pop, but I never had the urge to actually fully 100% a game. And so Ghost of Tsushima was the very first platinum that I ever had. The second one that I had was Spider-Man 2018. And then my third one was Elden Ring, which was also the very first Souls-like game that I ever fully completed. And I've played a lot. I've played Neo 2, Dark Souls 3, Demon Souls. I've played a lot of games, but I don't always finish them as a point on me. So when I'm going through this list, just understand that these are my opinions. These are things that I have come up with, my thoughts on these. And a lot of times it's not always the gameplay or the story or the characters that really gets them to be on this list for me. It's really the emotions behind the game, how I feel when I'm playing these games, and kind of what they mean to me. And that's what I think a lot of people should be doing with their game of the year list. It shouldn't be some completely objective list where everyone has to have the exact same thing. That's not how life works. Everyone has different tastes, has different opinions, and they have different feelings towards different things. So as I'm going through my list, understand this is mine, this is personal. Try not to get upset. You probably will, because there are some things on this list that are very controversial. So let's get into it. Number 10 for my game of the year of 2025 was Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. So this game is just straight nostalgia for me. So a little bit of backstory on me. I moved to a new city when I was in 6th grade. And one of the very first friends I made was really into anime. So they were the person that introduced me to Naruto and Dragon Ball Z. And because of this, on a following visit to GameStop, I came across one of those Dragon Ball Z fighter games. Can't remember the exact one, but I got it on PSP, and it literally became my entire personality. I would wake up, I'd play it. I'd go to sleep, play it. In my bed, pretending to be asleep. And it was amazing. It gave you that sense of being an actual Super Saiyan, kind of living that dream. And I think because of that, Dragon Ball has always had a very special place in my heart. And when I started picking up this game this year, probably about around February or March time, If that's when it came out. It might have been a little later. I can't remember. Time is fake. Um, but when I started playing it, I had also just happened to be getting back into Dragon Ball Super. I had started Dragon Ball Super years ago, and I just never finished it. And so, um, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero kind of helped me to get back into that Super Saiyan mode, and it was really fun, kind of reliving all those moments from the story, seeing all the characters, their different story arcs, and it's just a really special game that I'm always going to go back to. This is one of those few games that I went and made sure I got me a physical copy. Even though we know nowadays physical copies don't mean anything, you're just going to download it anyway. But I went ahead and made sure I got one just because I love that box art. It's so empowering, it's so strong, and I think that team did a fantastic job creating that game and bringing that story into an interactive mode for everyone to play. Number 9 on my game of the year list is Electro. So cards and card games in general have been very big in my life. Um, Another backstory for me. When I was in middle school, my parents would typically send me off to stay with my grandparents for a week or two. And when I would go with them, me and my grandpa would always play this card game that he called Hand and Foot. Probably haven't heard of it. It's a variation of a game called Canasta. You got to make different books. You have to close out. It can be either done in singles, cutthroat, like one versus one kind of thing, or it can even be duos or teams. And it was really fun. I loved playing it. And so whenever we would go up there, or when I would go up there for the summer, me and my grandfather would play. And the game is long, man. Let me tell you, it typically, if it's just two people playing, like one versus one, it can be maybe 2-3 hours because we have 4 different hands to actually go through. Technically, it's 8 because there's a hand and a foot each hand, but the game can get pretty long. And if we're playing with teams, it typically goes about 5 hours. So there have been days where we've just said, we'll pick this up tomorrow. But it was great. I loved playing that card game with my grandfather. We would always tell stories, talk smack, just make jokes. And some of my fondest memories come from playing this game. And so one of the very first times that I went up there, my grandfather told me that that he had a card group. And so every week he and his friends would get together and they would all play this game Hand and Foot together. So me, a little chubby 12-year-old, was suddenly being taken to a card game with a bunch of 70 to 80-year-olds drinking, cussing, swearing, and it was some of the best times of my life. Let me tell you. And I love playing that game. And one of the favorite things about it is just the joy of playing. It's one of those games that even if it's long and even if it's not always the most fun, there's always fun to be had in it. And I think Balatro really hits home with me for that reason because it's kind of the exact opposite. Balatro does not take 5 hours to play. It can take 5 minutes. It can take 2 hours. I've had some runs that have taken me that long. Like I mentioned at the top, I haven't beaten this game. A lot of games I don't beat, but Balatro is one of those games that I've purchased multiple times. I have it on my phone, I have it on my PlayStation, and I have it on my PC. This is a game that I will always want to pick up and play, and I always love the sound, the visuals of it, the way they tie in game culture with things like different card faces for the face cards. It's just an amazing experience. And I think everyone who loves cards or any type of card game, whether it's poker, spades, I think you really should give this game a try. And one of the coolest things about this game to me is the way that the developer is so profoundly and emphatically supportive of keeping this game away from a lot of what taints card games. He doesn't want it to handle with anything related to gambling. And I think being a solo creator and being able to do something like that and ensure that your work is made to be played and not mistreated is something very commendable. And I think it's worth celebrating and definitely supporting for that reason alone. Number 8 on my list for 2025 is Hollow Knight. Um, so you may be thinking, Hollow Knight, that game's so old. Yes, it is old. And like I said, I play games at a very, very slow pace. But this game I didn't actually pick up until this year. Um, Once we finally got a year for Hollow Knight, I was like, okay, let me go ahead and let me go ahead and try this out. And let me say, it was something special. Once again, I still have not beaten this game, but this is one of those games that I'm actually streaming here on my channel. So if you're interested, check it out. It's been a while since I've streamed any of it just because I've been busy with life, but I plan on picking it up very, very soon. So if you're interested in, let me know. So Team Cherry just has done an amazing job. This is a world with so much depth and lore and so much beautiful art. Um,
Hmm,
One of the reasons that
got one.
I knew that I needed to at least start it before Silksong came out, because people who I've seen have played Hollow Knight speak so passionately about it. And I've never been a big 2D video game person. Um, I'll play things like Pokemon with pixel art and stuff, but I was never into many 2D platformers, not into many platformers in general.
That was
And then
bad.
the idea of a Metroidvania just gave me a lot of anxiety. And but lately I've been playing things like Souls-like games and roguelites, and kind of that challenge and that struggle has kind of hooked me in. And Hollow Knight was kind of that perfect teaser, and I can't wait to
Yes,
get back to
sir.
it. It's an amazing game,
Who's
and I can't
next?
wait to finally beat it so that I
Oh,
can
not
play
too
Silk
bad.
Song for
Out.
myself.
Oh,
Um,
damn.
I've watched a ton of people play it, and I am astounded by what Team Cherry has done, and they really
Good
deserve the props. And
God.
even though they didn't get
God.
much
All right.
props for, or like at the Game Awards, I think it's definitely
I ain't see that coming.
worth bringing
I thought
up
they was gonna
the
be fighting
legacy
each
that
other
they
in time,
laid.
but
No matter what, they're
I see
always
that.
going to be one of
All right,
those
that's cool. That's
great
cool.
developers just because of what they've been able to accomplish, and with how much fan base they've been able to acquire. So it's definitely something that I'm very proud of being able to be a part of. And I look very much forward to continuing my playthrough. Number 7 on my video game list is Witchfire. So, um, I grew up playing Halo. Halo was probably one of the games I've played most. Halo 3 in particular, played through that game, played through that campaign countless times. Halo 3, Halo Reach, Halo 2. I remember me and my best friend, we used to team up on his brother in 4, just trying to 1v1 people. 2v1 technically, because there were two of us, but we were half his age, so it was about 1v1. Um, but this game, Witchfire, this is the
Is this
first
man
shooter
cooking?
that I've
Where are
played in
you?
a very long time. That's made me feel that same sense of
Oh, this
joy.
fucking. I did not see you
One of
in
my
there.
favorite streamers, Andy Cortez, the Nitro Rifle, always loves to say, clicking heads and ripping them to shreds. And in Witchfire, you really get to do just that. He is actually the person who introduced me to Witchfire, and it's been amazing seeing how much the devs have been able to do and how long they've been in early access. So if you're not aware, Witchfire is an early access game right now. It has not come out, and it has been in early access for years. Um, this is the very first early access game I have ever bought, and as soon as it is fully released, I will be buying it again on multiple platforms. This game is that good. Um, it's a roguelite, there's action, there's adventure, there's mystique. It's it's a phenomenal game, and I can't wait to see how much more they're able to add and include in it. Every time I hop back in, there's new things to explore, new relics and mysteries to find, and this game definitely deserves some love. That's why I made sure to put it on my list for this year. But next year, it will most likely be here again, because really, this game is phenomenal. So please go ahead and give Witchfire a try. And even if you don't, if you want to wait until it's fully out so you can get the full experience, that's fine. Just go ahead and wishlist it.
Golly, Miss Molly.
Please, really
Using
do
a
that for them.
freeze unfreeze explode.
Number 6 on my game of the year list is Dispatch. So I have been a fan of stories and storytelling for years. You can see behind me, I got a bunch of books. This isn't all of them. I got books in that closet. I got books all around this house. So stories are something that I really love. A story that I can interact with and make
I'm
decisions
not done
myself.
saving you yet.
Oh, you sold me. That's perfect. That's all I want. That's all I want ever. So something like Detroit Become Human, I was obsessed with that game. And when it came out, I didn't have the money to
Is
buy it,
there
but
a
I watched people
ladder
play
or-
through it. When Dispatch came out, I did the exact same thing. I watched 3 different people play through the game, and then I sat down with my wife and I had her play the game. I didn't want to play it. I wanted to watch. I was enjoying this game so much. The cast is phenomenal. Aaron Paul, Mr. Breaking Bad, Jesse Pinkman, you, sir, deserve some awards because you are killing it. Once again, though, I have not finished this game. I haven't even gotten to the good parts yet. I'm halfway through. I finished episode 3 and I said, ooh, wee, I gotta keep
I'll
going.
take Wednesday.
This game
Tuesday.
really
Dibs on Monday.
has
What are you guys
inspired
talking
so
about?
many people. It's
taking
brought
bets on
so
when
many
you'll
people
quit.
together. From the cast who's
Friday.
acting as part of the crew within that Dispatch game, to just the people showing
Wow,
their love
you're
and
on fire
appreciation
today.
for
Oh,
the
this?
characters, the actors, the way they got streamers and content creators involved with this. Ad Hoc Studio is a special studio, and the fact that they were able to do this with an episodic release is phenomenal. I can't wait to see what they do next, and I'm really excited for getting to finish this game. So yes, I did not finish it, but I know that there's something special here, and I really can't wait to see it through to the end. Number 5 on my Game of the Year list for 2025 is Ghost of Yotei. So, like I mentioned in my little preamble before I started my countdown, Ghost of Tsushima was the very first game that I ever platinum. And so, you can imagine that when they announced Ghost of Yotei, I was pretty much on board from the jump. Plus, my favorite animal is wolves, so you throw me a little wolf sidekick, I will definitely be there day one. And I was. Technically, no, I had homework, so okay, I take that back. I was there like day 5, but you get my point. I was watching people day 1. That's close enough. Okay. So, Sucker Punch has always been one of my favorite studios too. I remember back in the day, whenever my mom would go to Walmart, I would always tag along because as soon as we got there, I'd say, "Hey, Ma, I'm gonna be over here," and I'd go straight to those little kiosks in the back of the store where they had little gaming setups, and I'd just be sitting there, creaking my neck back, playing Infamous. So Sucker Punch has always been one of my favorite studios. They're always going to have a special place in my heart. And hopefully one day I will have the opportunity to work alongside them. And so Ghost of Yotei was phenomenal. It's an experience unlike any other. The
Depends on the
color
message.
palette that you get to experience, the sound, honestly, just the sound itself. Ghost of Yotei is one of the very first
does a
games
money
where I
lender care?
turned the sound off. I muted my TV. I pulled out my phone and I pulled up the soundtrack for Ghost of Yotei, and I listened to that while I played the game because that music is so incredible. It's so inviting into the world, and it fits the atmosphere just perfectly. And so, once again, I have not beaten this game yet, but I'm about 32 hours in. I'm hitting my second of the Yotei 6, but I have absolutely every intention of platinuming this game just like its predecessor. And I really can't wait to see how they stick the landing for this ending. And I hope you all are enjoying it as well. Number 4 on my Game of the Year list for 2025 is Alan Wake Remastered. So, Sam Lake and Remedy, let me put a hat on real quick so I can tip it to you. Because I was unfamiliar with your game, literally. Oh my gosh. I played Control a few years ago and it became one of my favorite games. The gunplay, the powers, the mystery, the absolute beautiful design of something like the Ashtray Maze. It really brought me into what you guys were doing, and I had heard of Alan Wake. I'd never played it because I am not a horror game person. I don't like scary stuff. I enjoy watching scary movies, but they typically never scare me. I typically find myself laughing at them. But when you put that controller in my hand, it really takes me out of it and just shivers my timbers, and I can't do it. I've tried many times. I've tried Callisto Protocol. I've tried what's that game called? Forget it. I don't remember. But I tried horror games. It doesn't work. That's what it was. The Evil Within. I tried Evil Within. Oh my god, I had nightmares for years. But I don't do horror. And so Alan Wake 2, or Alan Wake Remastered, excuse me,
Wonderful.
this game kind of came up just
Pretty damn
because
wonderful,
I
yeah.
literally had nothing to do at this time. So my wife was out of town. I had just gotten sick. And so I didn't have the energy to play something else. I wanted to play video games. I didn't want to sit around and watch TV. I wanted to do something a little more active. And so I was scrolling through my catalog of games and I was trying to see what I could play. And I was so sick, I said, you know what? Let's just try it. We'll throw it on. If we don't like it, we'll turn it right off. And I was immediately hooked on this game. And so I was playing this game sick, and the way that this happened was so funny because jump scares and just creepy noises will get you. I would try to like prepare myself for those events. But because I was sick, my nose was stuffy, I was breathing out of my mouth. Um, I had extremely delayed reactions. And so the whole time I was just laughing at how late my reactions were to all these scary jump scares. And I ended up losing all my fear over it. And so I know this isn't necessarily going to be the best way to play every scary game. And I know most people aren't going to want to be sick just to play a scary game. But for me, this really opened up my eyes to the amazing way that this game is presented, the way that combat works and the story is told through things like the different notebook pages and the way you have to use lights and different tactics to find things. This game really expanded my mind. I loved seeing the kind of inceptionness of this game, and I was immediately intrigued by it. And Sam Lake and Remedy, I will be a fan for years now. I was already a fan with Control, but Alan Wake Remastered really made me yearn for that kind of psychological horror game and that deep, dark feeling that kind of makes you go, "Oh, no, I can't go in that corner. Don't do that. Don't do that." And so as soon as I finished this game, I immediately picked up Alan Wake 2, and I said, "Okay, this time I'm gonna play this not sick." So next year, maybe you'll see Alan Wake 2 on my list. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? But this game, if you have not played it, I highly recommend it. This is something that I slept on for years, and I'm very glad that I picked it up because it's really changed my outlook on games, and I'm definitely going to experience a lot more games similar to this because of how well I enjoy it.
It's not a lake. It's an ocean.
Alan, wake up.
Number 3 on my Game of the Year list for 2025 is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. So out of all the games on my list for this year, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is the only game that I did not play a single minute of. So you're probably thinking, that makes no sense. How can a game be on your Game of the Year list and you didn't even play it? Well, let me tell you this. This game is too long. I love it, but it's too long. And like I said, I'm busy. So I spent most of my time watching someone else play this. And man, oh man, I spent a lot of time watching them play this. So I originally bought the first Kingdom Come Deliverance for PlayStation 4. I'm a huge history nerd, and so I love this kind of game and setting and the idea of getting lost in a world like this. But when I bought this game, I had the PS4 Slim, didn't have a PS4 Pro. And so this game was chugging, chugging, chugging. It was so slow. I could barely do anything because there were so many loading screens. It just made the game kind of in an unplayable state. And so I ended up watching some people play parts of it on YouTube. I never saw the whole playthrough or anything, but I really enjoyed what I did see. And so when I heard they were making a second one, I said, okay, I definitely have to play this one. Of course, like I keep saying, I get busy. And so I just didn't have the chance. And then a few months ago, one of my favorite streamers, he decided to play this game. He decided to pander to the audience and finally do what they have been begging him to do all year long and play Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And so this streamer, Snowbike Mike, the master of hype, he lives out on the West Coast. I'm an East Coast kid. So I was up late at night sticking around just to see him going through this game. And man, it was worth every minute of it. It was phenomenal. And I have already decided that it will be one of my games for next year. I typically have one game that I will slow play throughout the year if I don't have any other games that kind of push me through to pick them up. And so I've decided Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 will be one of my long play games for next year. And I'm extremely excited to pick it up for myself and kind of really dig in and craft my own narrative within that world. So it's not just me watching someone else play it. My own brother, he has played this game too. My brother has a wife and 3 elementary age kids. And this man somehow found the time to put over 250 hours into that game. Since last I asked him his hour count, and he's still been playing it. And so I know this game deserves love, and I know this game deserves respect, and it deserves to be played. Everyone that I've known that has talked about this game, that has picked it up and has experienced it, they have not regretted it. I know that the systems in this game are deep and complex, and that can be a turnoff for a lot of people. But this is a game that is really a game. You can live your life. You can live any life you want in this game. And I think for an RPG, that is probably one of the biggest compliments that you can give any RPG. A game that truly lets you role play and decide how you want to live your character's life out. And so for that reason, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is number 3 on my list. But like I said, next year, it will probably be higher. And it will probably be one of the games that I go down and talk about all the time, because there's a lot very special with this game. And I think that, once again, it deserves to be recognized for what they've accomplished. Number 2 on my list for Game of the Year 2025 is Expedition 33. Man, this game is amazing. It almost made my number 1, and I didn't bring it down until I was actually sitting down to compose my thoughts and kind of think things through. So this is a game that I love. I've always been a fan of turn-based combat. Growing up, I was addicted to playing Pokemon. I still have my Game Boy Advance, my copy of Pokemon Ruby. I have my Game Boy SD. I have my copy of Pokemon Diamond. I have my Switch, my original Switch, Switch 1, which I said, you know what, I'm going to play Pokemon Zone because I like Pokemon that much. Now, granted, that one's not turn-based. We'll talk about that another day, but turn-based games are something special, and they've always had a very special place in my heart. And so being able to come into a brand new world with so much character, so much art, so much passion, this is a game that will live rent-free in my head for the rest of my life. Similar to how I said Ghost of Yote, I would mute the TV and I would listen to the soundtrack. Expedition 33 has one of the most beautiful soundtracks I have ever listened to in my entire life. This game, I listened to the soundtrack more than pretty much anything this year. I don't use Spotify, so I didn't get a Spotify Wrapped, but I do have Apple Music, and according to that, Lorien Testard, the composer for Expedition 33, he was my 3rd most played artist for the entire year. So that kind of goes to show how much I love the sound of this game, how much I love the art, how much I love so much of what this stands for. just like all the other stuff on this list. Haven't beaten it yet. Um, but I'm close. I'm like 30 hours in. I've finished Act Two. I got a lot left. Not necessarily in the sense that close to the end of the story, but there's so much left that I want to dive into in this world. There's so much depth to it, so much range that the characters go through in their stories, their interactions with each other. And this game, it did win Game of the Year awards, and I'm glad that it did. I think it's very well deserved, especially considering the team that went behind this game. And I think this game really is special. And for anyone that has not played it yet, I really recommend that you do so.
Have we made contact? I am Air, a Rubiconian. Please, you must wake up. Before your consciousness is forever scattered in the coral flow.
Disabling autopilot. Establishing comms link with Henry.
Raven, I've identified an approaching enemy. I'll synchronize with your brainwaves.
The number one game on my Game of the Year list for the year 2025
Main system, reactivating
is
combat.
Armored Core 6. Armored Core
Looked
6.
into the enemy craft. It's
This
an
game
autonomous
has,
PCA craft, Bauteus.
I don't even know how to start. This game is amazing. I don't ever remember hearing anything about Armored Core 6, about Armored Core in general, until the announcement trailer for this came out, and everyone was going crazy about it. Another one of the streamers I like to watch, Fighting Cowboy. I remember after it was announced, he had a stream where he went and pulled up his old Armored Core games, and he went through his old saves, looking at his old build, and just started tinkering with them again. And I think that's amazing. A game so deep, so detailed, and so obscure. I mean, how many mech games are there that can...
The enemy can't take much
It's so
more.
hard to put into words what this game means. I wasn't sold on it though, for some reason. When it came out, I watched people play it. I said, oh, okay, I kind of get the idea of it. I kind of understand what's going on.
Enemy systems down.
But it was for
Excellent.
a couple of years. It wasn't until last year really that I started. So I picked Armored Core 6 up the day after Christmas last year. the day after Christmas, I went to Best Buy. I bought me a PlayStation Portal, and I bought it because I was going out of town for New Year's, and I wanted to be able to play games while I was out of town. So I got me a PlayStation Portal, and I bought Armored Core 6. And if you don't know, Armored Core 6 is one of those games where if you really want to get the full depth of the story, you kind of have to play it a couple times, 3 to be exact. And so I picked this up the day after Christmas, December 26th. And by January 5th, I'd beaten this game entirely on my PlayStation Portal. And now that is bad because this game is beautiful and it did not deserve that. So you know what I did? I came home and I beat it again on my 75-inch TV. Because that game is that good. So I'm currently working through my 3rd playthrough. And this is one of those games that I will be taking the time to platinum because this has really changed my perspective on what games can be, how games can be customizable to the player in such a strong way. And it's really made me a mech sicko. A little bit after I beat my 2nd playthrough, I went ahead and ordered this Steel Haze. Yeah. Haven't put it together yet because as I keep saying, I don't have time. But this game is amazing. I think about it all the time, and I can't wait for them to come out with another one. If you're not familiar with a guy named Vati Vidya, he makes phenomenal videos, mostly on Souls-like games, but he did do a couple on Armored Core. And in particular, the video he did on Armored Core lore, he has one that's 5 hours long. I remember during my 2nd playthrough, I put that on my TV, his 5-hour video, and I sat on my sofa with my Portal, and I was just playing around with it 5 hours straight. Nothing else going on, just me, Vati, and my mech.
We have to go.
This game is powerful. The messaging behind it, it's subtle, and you really do have to dig in to get to it. But I don't think I ever have played a game like Armored Core 6, and I really don't think I ever will play one just like it.
One day,
It's a phenomenal game.
humanity
And if you
explored
love
the
anything
stars
space,
together.
mech, or just robots,
You kept our
I
potential
highly
safe.
recommend you give this game a try. It's phenomenal, and I think that From Software
I know Walter
really
feared a collapse.
earned their reputation as a phenomenal game development company
There's another
just
way.
by the fact that they can go from something like Elden Ring to
Raven,
Armored Core and have those fan bases
find it
traverse
together.
both gaps. It's not everyone that's gone both ways, but I think the fact that they're able to convert so much of the lessons and the architecture of the way they architect their games across genres like that is truly remarkable. And I think that Armored Core 6 deserves a lot more credit than it's been given. So for that reason alone, Armored Core 6 is my game of the year for 2025.